So we'll touch on three themes. So we'll talk about responsible mining and the value of sustainability leadership and legacy. So yeah, some of us are not, we don't agree with Mike Tyson that there's no legacy. Legacy does exist, it's important. And then we'll talk about partnership within the industry, partnership communities, and we'll end by opening up into what are the challenges of this sector building trust into the future. So we gotta, stagger it. So I'll start with Amparo, and then I have different questions for Adam, but that's the theme. And then we can turn over to the audience if you have questions. So Amparo, again, congratulations. You talked a lot, like in your speech, you talked about the power of sustainability in transforming mining. And it's easy for us to just focus on Quebrada Blancas too, but can you just share specific examples from your career, so beyond QB2, where sustainability has not only mitigated risk, but also created value, whether it's for companies, but also for communities?
Okay. Thank you, Theo, and thank you again for this occasion and the opportunity to share our experience. It's difficult for me to be away from Quebrada Blanca. This has been such a big project that has impacted all of us. But there, of course, are other examples. But let me go a little bit back again to QB. I think the project itself was designed, built, and it's being operated based in a sustainability approach, in a sustainable approach. So that means that from the early stage, for example, the decision was made to use only desaled water, which allow us to return water rights to the state of Chile. That means that they are going to be used by indigenous communities in the regions. Also to have only renewable energy, so QB2 is going to be powered completely from renewables from next year. And the engagement with communities. So I think, especially when we are building this project, we talk a lot about that building a project is not only the technical part, the facilities. It was a big project, a concentrator, a port, a desal plant, pipelines, everything. But we were building a new level of mining, a new way of mining. So I think that is something that has been embedded in the organization, and it's there. And this, of course, generates a significant business value for all stakeholders. And we also have a lot of experiences in Canada, for example, where our commitment to biodiversity is moving the business into a direction that, first of all, is allowing us to engage with indigenous groups and define in conjunction what are those biodiversity projects that we will do together. So I think the dialogue with communities, the focus in biodiversity are really maybe one of the most relevant aspects of how sustainability supports the business and generates a positive business case.
Yeah, that's interesting. I know earlier this year we had Jonathan Price on a panel at PDAC in the EY Tower in Toronto, and he did mention that at TECK, you going away from the traditional ESG definition into responsible mining and nature positive. Now, TECK has a commitment to be nature positive by 2030. How do you balance and you now in charge of sustainability for the whole company? Yeah. So how do you balance the challenges between that commitment and the immediate day-to-day operational requirements?
Okay, first of all, I think biodiversity is a key aspect for the future. Mm-hmm. The nature loss is an issue that represents one of the biggest threats for the planet. And mining activity takes place in places where there is a lot of mining resources, but they also have a lot of value from the biodiversity and the nature perspective. So, as Jonathan said in that occasion, we took a very early commitment, and we were maybe one of the earliest adopters, and we made this commitment of becoming nature positive by 2030. So that means that we need to put a lot of discipline in that process to get there. And for example, for next year, our objective is to really define and understand all the offsets in all the operations. So biodiversity is something that has a very local impact, so needs to be managed at local level. So answering your question, I don't see there is a conflict between the operational needs. What needs to happen is that all the operations need to own this process and understand what is the biodiversity impact of the activity, and then develop compensation plans, which is what we're doing today in all of our operations.
Yeah. Okay. Let's turn to Adam. So Adam, we know the story of the Lundin family, and it's remarkable. You, the third generation on it, and we also know it's not easy, especially in certain generations, to actually be bolder and change it and take the story to a next level. How do you balance honoring whatever was built? So what's the the true anchor story, with moving bolder into new areas so that you can actually add more to the story? Like, how do you go about balancing that?
No, thanks, Dale. Yeah, it's a good question. Obviously, like you grew up hearing, okay, you're third generation, you guys are going to lose it all. You have like a 5% chance of success. And so that really like fueled the fire, I think, for me and my brothers to continue going, but also very passionate and enjoy the sector. I think, it's very important, like what my grandfather and dad started created was, a lot of hard lessons learned along the way, and I think just more important, we don't repeat any past mistakes or continue to improve, but also, spending a lot of time with my father, especially when he was ill, was, you got to remain adaptive. Things change, processes change, and you have to be on top of it. So I think it's surrounding yourself with good people like we have in the group, which makes the Lundin Group successful today, and relying on good people and empowering your teams around you, and then also being adaptive. Don't get stuck in your old way because you think that's the only way it should be done.
Yeah, and you mentioned the importance of taking the family achievement to the next level. So can you share with the audience what next level means to you, and how this vision is influencing your decision making today as chair?
Yeah, I think really with my grandfather starting it and wanting to get into the business, like it's hard for him to access. So obviously it's a lot of capital. So he first started getting into it through the exploration side, and mainly on the oil and gas side. And then as started having a bit of success, Dad was able to get into operations and start building projects. And so my vision is to be able to continue doing all of that extremely well, exploring, building, and operating. And then, for us, we like to tell the teams it's in operations, it's value over volume. Not here to hit any ego milestones of we have to get to 1 million tons of copper production, or we have to get to 2 million ounces of gold production. It's really, you want to be rewarded for having the best margins and being in the best practice moving forward.
Yeah, so we now switch to the partnerships and intra-industry and communities, and your $4.8 billion partnership with BHP is a massive milestone. It's going to change the game. I can tell you, I know you were not here, but presentation we heard from different people since the morning kept bringing the deal back. So it's how important it is for the sector. But to you, what were the key factors that made this deal the right move for Lundin? And how do you see it shaping the future of the Vicuña district?
Yeah, it was we're excited about the deal. We look forward to getting it closed. And then, obviously with these deals and us staying in and moving forward with BHP, it's just going to continuously look back and say, was it a good transaction? So I think you got to demonstrate it was the right transaction for both parties and continue to move it forward. I think the deal came about, originally with BHP investing in Filo, and then both parties taking the time to do that relationship building. None of this happened because, I was behind a screen or on a phone. Both, we took the efforts to get to know each other, go to each other's operations, spend time in the room, and you just develop a certain level of trust. Like, I really only have good things to say about BHP and the organization that they have over there. And so getting to know each other after they took the equity position and then advancing Philo forward and seeing the success. I was sure, I didn't want to trade out of the district. I wanted, bring it into production, and BHP shared the same vision as us. So we felt like this is going to make a great partnership going forward.
Yeah, and I know that the Lundin Foundation is a key player in places like Africa, especially, the foundation was created after, I think it was your dad and your uncle, right? They did the motorbike tour. I actually read the coffee book that they created when I was at Dundee. And it's fascinating to see that beyond, there's what Lundin Mining is doing, but there's actually a foundation, there's actually implementing some of the vision around community engagement and the future communities. When people see the deal with BHP, it's easy for people to ask themselves, how are you going to manage as equals with BHP and continue to align on some of the items like that the Lundin Foundation is after, but also on execution and other metrics.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you respond to that question of maintaining your DNA, even if you have a collaboration with a giant?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, obviously a much smaller organization than BHP, but also what Mike Henry is the way he's pointing BHP. It's big, but you also feel a bit of entrepreneurialism as well in there, and get along well on that side. I think the foundation has been a great success for the group. It come in and helps with that gap analysis on social sustainable programs and helps get those implemented, and it's very good. All these resources are finite, and if you can come up with sustainable businesses that have the ability to outlast the resource, those local communities are going to continue to benefit long after the mine is gone. And so that's very important enough to take that step. And most parties that we work with agree with that vision as well. But I think for any partnership to work well, it's just going to take a lot of communication and a lot of collaboration. You're not going to get along every second of the day, but just as long as it comes back and you guys agree making sound decisions moving forward, it should be all right.
All right. So let's turn on to you, Amparo, on partnership and communities. So Anthony mentioned it. You achieved agreement with 22 indigenous groups. That's massive. And Chile is famous for the work stoppage at the copper mines, but you managed not to have any of that. Okay, and so what kind of lesson can you share with this audience and the mining community at large around taking the meaningful and thoughtful long-term approach when dealing with indigenous communities?
Well, I believe that the engagement with communities and with indigenous groups is maybe the key pillar of the sustainability approach and activities. And especially during this morning, there has been a lot of conversation about permits and how difficult they are. And I think they're difficult in all the regions and in different jurisdictions. In our view, the key pillar for advancing permits and being able to maintain the license to operate comes from the relation with communities. In my view, that is what drives the whole engagement with authority, with other stakeholders. So for us, the experience was positive, but it was also difficult. The early stages were very challenging. We had to sit in the table, have discussions. We went from good outcomes to more difficult times. So it was a lot of investment, and personally for me was a lot of learning. And I think I was able to learn and really advance and understand better the industry and our impact because of those engagement and those process of dialogue. So maybe the key element is that the engagement with communities is the most important activity. You need to start very early. We started dialogue with communities almost 12 years before first production. You need to sit at the table and come with a very open approach, really to sit at the table with the commitment of listening and also changing, because sometimes you have your own idea of your project, it's already designed, everybody is okay, the costs are clear, the schedule is important, but you need to be flexible, you need to be able to listen to the communities, and in our case, we did significant changes in the design of the project because of community requirements and their perspective. So I think that investment in communities are at the end important for the operation and for the projects and for the construction. And as you mentioned, we were able to advance without issues, and that is, I think, something that has a significant value, so business value. So in my view, the keystone for advancing is engaging in a very respectful way. And that is not only something that happens in Chile, we went through that experience, but for example, we do have a very strong experience also in the US, in Alaska. We have an operation where we are partners with the indigenous communities of Nana. In fact, I will meet with them on Wednesday in Vancouver. We have a board meeting. And I believe that engagement and really being open to the perception and the view of other stakeholders is critical, and critical to advance permit and to grow as companies.
Yeah, and it looks like you also took it a step further, because sometimes you can do the engagement, but then empowering is another level. So you create a program called Originarias. Maybe you want to explain more about that, but it looks like at Tech, you don't just do the engagement, you're also empowering women, you're empowering indigenous communities beyond just the engagement. Maybe you want to share with the audience what the program is about and then explain how it helps.
Okay, I will take care, because I loved so much this program that I can be talking about it longer. No, Originarias is a fantastic program. For us, it's the most important program that we have in Latin America. It started 6 years ago. It's a partnership with UN Women. And basically, we created this program because we realized that indigenous women in the territories where mining activity took place were maybe the most impacted, and there were no activities. So we really wanted to know what was their situation and to build this program in order to help that development. So we built Originarias. Today, it has been able to impact more than 300 women, indigenous women. It's a program that is focused in training, leveraging competencies, leadership skills. So that is a program that has gone beyond our activities. It's connected to the mining activity, but it's also relevant when you consider the issues and the challenges in a country like Chile or in other countries in Latin America, for example, Peru. And basically, this was externally, we had this community program that it's Originarias, but also internally, we made the commitment to include more women in our operation. And today we have 30%, which is very high in comparison with the rest of the country. So we put a lot of effort in our diversity programs and including more female at mining, because we believe that also helps to foster a different and a more diverse way of thinking and bringing different perspectives, which we believe are critical for the future.
Yeah, and that also is changing the brand of mining overall for societies in general.
And I think also technology helps a lot. We do have an IOC that it's in Santiago, so we manage the mine from Santiago, and in that way we are open and we allow more female to come and work with us without doing shifts, without going to altitude, which is very challenging. So I think there is a combination between the determination of the company on what you want to do, your contribution to society, and also incorporating technology that allow that.
Yeah. Now let's turn to energy transition. Today, I think every session talked about energy transition somewhat. So Adam, I'll come back to you. Everybody talk about copper and how it's going to revolutionize the world. I know that there was also silver discussion this morning, but it looks like for many years, Lundin has just been better and better positioned to capitalize on the opportunity. How do you foresee the near future and the longer term? You know, of course, everybody also talks about Donald Trump. You know, so you can comment on geopolitical, you can comment on just your position and vision for as a copper player in this world.
Yeah, I think with the energy transition, obviously you're seeing more flows, coming out of the energy space, and you're seeing that kind of multiples not being what they used to be, but obviously the world's still consuming as much oil as it ever has. But I see definitely over time, the continued electrification of the globe and the requirement for more copper to be produced. And with the geopolitical tension, right now in Argentina, it's a fantastic window of opportunity. You see it. You never really see a government, last more than really 9 years, or to get the Seinfeld effect.
Yeah.
But it's, I think you got to be patient and long term. And when you get through these good windows of opportunity, the best thing that you can put in place in a host nation is a strong fiscal stability agreement to have that security for the company and the shareholders. And so when those windows are there, you got to be able to push forward and secure them. But the world's always going to be an interesting place, and you just have to be on top of the ball.
Yeah, and so I'll come back to you, Amparo. You said that the biggest risks to mining today are not just the environmental, social. That is more environmental or social and not really technical. How or what kind of strategies do you anticipate will address these risks, especially based on the successes you've seen at KB2?
Yes, and maybe building a little bit upon Adam, I think the engagement with governments is critical.
Okay.
And you will find different perspectives. And I think us as industry also have the opportunity and also maybe the responsibility of educating some governments that initially may be very mining against. But I think what I've seen in these years is that if you're able to have a transparent dialogue with authorities and different governments, we have different governments in Latin America, and you're able to build a space of collaboration. And I think you will find governments that are more pro-mining, others that are not so much, but we build projects for the future, for 30 years to last several years beyond each government. So I think that is a key element, to be able to have the dialogue, to be able to share what we do, to be able to educate and to reduce the lack of confidence, because there is, and it was mentioned here before, I think sometimes governments and other stakeholders really don't trust mining. And I think what we need to do is to build that trust and to demonstrate first how important is what we produce, second, how responsible we are mining today and how we are managing all of our impacts and taking care of that, and also having a very strong social dialogue. And going back to that, I really believe that if we have a strong engagement with communities, for me, that is the first circle to manage your risks. But I also believe that engagement with governments is so important.
All right. Okay, any closing comment, Adam?
No, I think the future's exciting. I agree, community engagement, stakeholder engagement, community or shareholders in the world that, we all believe in doing this in the best way possible and by best practice. So we're excited, and again, it's a real honor to be able to share the stage and also win the Northern Miner Award. So thank you very much.
Any closing comment, Amparo?
No, I want to thank you, of course, for this award and share my view. I'm really passionate about mining. I think it's fascinating. This industry has a big potential. We are discussing about global trends and global topics. The impact of this activity is so big, but also has this like very local connection and this very personal connection when you engage with people, when you really get to know what are the impacts and the needs of the people that surround our mines. So I think that balance between global and this very local perspective is fascinating and also offers an opportunity which is unique to work in this world and contribute to this future. So thank you again.
I don't know if there's questions from the audience.
Time for a question, if there is any.
If not, Adam, again, I know it's really early in Vancouver right now, so thanks for making the time. We're all very proud of your achievement. And Amparo, thanks again for being the inaugural winner of the Operator of the Year Award. So congratulations to you both and your families.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.